Well, hello all. I wanted to make another video today and share some thoughts with you uh, about the ongoing debacle among younger Americans. And I was going to do a video about the Ken Burns uh, series on the American Revolution, but I'll hold off on that for another time. But something very strange is going on in American culture and in American society. And it all kind of goes hand in hand. The founding generation, once again, is coming under attack. Concern for the Constitution and the founding generation is coming under attack on both the left and the right in many respects. People are trying to figure out what to turn to. What's the answer to solve some of these economic problems? I just had what sparked my interest in making this video right now. I just read a comment which was good. I understand where the person's coming from. More than likely a person younger than me, who said, again, that I just don't understand the problems of Gen Z, particularly young men. Well, what I tried to explain to him is, well, first of all, he listed out some of the grievances that, and this is just one example, and I've heard this repeatedly from other commenters. You're not allowed to be a white guy anymore in America. Other people are taught that it's okay to hate white people. And that's exactly right. And this has been shoved down our throats for many years now. But I don't think the answer is, in this case, to hate everybody that's not white because they're coming after you. The answer is to get to a position where you can ignore it. And I'll talk about that in a minute, because it's not going to go away. You're not going to convince people who have been taught to blame white men for all of America's ills. You're not going to be able to convince them otherwise. That's what they've been taught. Many people have been taught that, and it has been promulgated by the media in a very real and strong way, particularly in the past 10 years. So I get all of that. But what you sometimes fail to realize is that some of us, particularly in the South, we've been dealing with this kind of stuff for a long while. And the person who left the comment suggested that this is not primarily an economic difference between his generation and mine. Well, I would argue that is largely what the main difference is. At least that's the thing that I hear many people talking about on several different sides of the political spectrum. When I was coming up as a boy, I really didn't see it much when I was a kid because I was homeschooled. But when I started to go to college, I was often mocked and made fun of for either something I said, how I said it. I've been used to being bullied all my life. And so I learned to ignore it very early on. I had my life threatened by some black students at the University of South Carolina years ago because I displayed a Confederate battle flag. This is nothing new. And just so you're clear on this, white folk don't necessarily have a perfect history when it comes to bringing violence on people of a different color. There's a lot of racial violence in American history, regardless as to what race or what nationality or identity you want to talk about. So we all have a history of some pretty serious problems, but that doesn't mean that you blame an entire population of people for your ills. That's exactly what many people in America have been doing towards Southerners for many, many generations. So this is absolutely nothing new. There's always been a degree of tension, either between people of different regions within the country, people of different religions, people of different economic brackets. And so this is the genius of the founders, is to formulate a system where all this works together in a way that is plausible and that can continue. So I think the answer to all of this is to obtain as much economic freedom and financial stability and personal independence as is possible. The answer is not to destroy the institutions. The answer is in a better understanding of what the institutions were created for. If you work for another person, let's just put it in these terms. First of all, I'll repeat what I said in the last video. It's no longer the case. It hasn't been the case in quite some time, actually, that if you go to college and get a college degree that you're automatically going to make a lot of money, or that you're guaranteed a job at all. But if you're working for somebody else, then you have to essentially say and do things that are going to reflect the business owners in a positive light. You don't have the freedom to talk about things that you probably would have or probably want to, because you can get fired for saying something or doing something that's inappropriate. And so even if you're a very strong Christian person and you want to display your faith and be vocal about your faith in a workforce that is not open to you talking about that, then that's a serious problem. That you have lost a certain degree of freedom and liberty in your life because you need to have a job. You're working for somebody else. This is one among many reasons why working for someone else was not the American dream for a long time. You did not seek out a job so that you could work for somebody else. You created your own business, your own source of income in the trades, becoming a workman, an apprentice. You would start your own farm business. So many different things. You could go into several different ways of making money and making a living that allowed you a high degree of personal independence and autonomy. So you don't have that when you're working for somebody else. So I think the goal should not be, I need to do whatever I can to get a good job. The goal should be, how can I make money on my own and become self-employed so that I can have a greater degree of self-sufficiency and self-determination. Because that should be, in my mind, should be a very serious goal on behalf of young people. Because if you own and now what about private property? Well, if you have a source of income and you're able to own a home where you can craft that home to reflect your interest, your lifestyle, and you make it your own thing, your own home, your property. Then once you do that, then you're so busy working your own business and tending to your home and hopefully your family, you have the freedom to ignore what anybody says or thinks about you. Now, the hope is that you lead a virtuous life and that you follow transcendent authority, and that you realize you are responsible for your actions and that there's a moral order that you need to be following. But at least you're not being told what to do by somebody who owns the business that you work for. And you have the freedom to ignore those people who don't like you or won't have anything to do with your worldview, whatever the case may be. This is one reason I also have a problem with Christian nationalism and that sort of thing. The country was never created to accommodate these types of religious requirements being thrust upon society. We all have free will. You have the ability to accept the Christian life, accept Christ, and you have the ability to reject him. But this is where the law comes into play. We are a nation of laws. We must be ordered and governed by the laws. And so you do not have the right to destroy somebody else's home or property simply because you disagree with them. You do not have the right to murder somebody simply because you disagree with them. You can disagree with the law, but ultimately the law must be obeyed. And so if we break that down and we lose respect for the foundational law of the country, which is the Constitution, then what do we use to replace it with, you see? The whole point of the Constitution was to make sure that the government has as little to do with the life of an individual citizen as possible, because there's a huge difference in being a subject and being a citizen. With the Declaration of Independence and with the Treaty of Paris in 1783, with the successful revolutionary attempt to create American independence, being a subject of a crown is no more. You are now a citizen of a self-governing republic. And this is why Jefferson said repeatedly that we must have an educated citizenry. And he was probably more proud of creating the University of Virginia in Charlottesville than anything else he did, including writing the Declaration, including serving as president. And so it's our responsibility as the people of a self-governing country to figure out as much as we can on our own about how to live the good life and how to be a good and responsible citizen. Everybody's not going to be a good and responsible citizen. And they can have different opinions. They can have a different idea about where we take the country politically. But all of these sorts of things have to be discussed, and there has to be a dialogue. Because once you start falling prey to a demagoguery system, then you've lost the ability to reason anymore. I don't think we're at that point yet. I believe that it's not a coincidence that people are now thinking about the founding of the country as we're approaching the 250th anniversary. But my hope is that we think about it rightly and correctly, and not as a heritage that we need to throw away, but one that we need to better understand and that we need to cherish and make sure that we become worthy to inherit it. Because you're dealing with a patrimony here. People came before us. They created this country, and we are inheriting something that we didn't create. So I think the internet is the virtual reality of the internet doesn't always reflect genuine reality. It's not always a good reflection of the types of things that good citizens should be doing in the real world. But it may sound like a very simple solution to a lot of this problem, but I personally think that whatever we can do to make private property accessible to a larger amount of people in this country, including younger people, that'll solve a lot of problems. And actually, what I'm surprised at the amount of people who don't want to own property, usually because they don't want to deal with the property taxes, they don't want to deal with the upkeep, and all that's understandable. And that's why I advocate that we must get rid of property taxes nationwide. We must get rid of the Internal Revenue Service. The federal government should not need the amount of money that it does in order to function correctly. There's too many people working in Washington. There's too many people within the bureaucratic establishment who rely on it for a living. And the shutdown proved that, I think, pretty clearly. So I don't think it's that difficult. We should reduce the power of the federal government, and the interest rates must come down. I don't know that we would be able to buy the home that we have now if we didn't do it when we did. We're coming on 4 years of living here, and the economic situation has deteriorated considerably over the past 4 years, in part because of COVID, but also because of poor legislation. We're losing a massive amount of American farmers. Every year we're losing thousands upon thousands of individual family farms. Largely because the federal government is not stepping in an appropriate manner and making it illegal for foreign companies to buy American farmland, and making it illegal for the large monopolies that control the seed supply and the fertilizer supply, the equipment necessary to farm. There's too much monopoly at the level of agribusiness. And so what I would love to see happen is a more healthy and robust discussion of Jeffersonian agrarianism. Jefferson's vision for this country was a nation of independent small farmers, where the majority of the population were living on a piece of land, and they were able to produce not only food for their table, but cash crops for money. And I realize that not many Americans want to farm anymore, but what's even more dangerous is I wonder how many want to own private property. Because when we get to the point where we don't want to own private property and start businesses and become more responsible for our everyday things, then we are prone to demagoguery. We are prone to listen to whoever is sympathizing with our plight and our worldview and wants to use that sympathy to create power for themselves. And this is not what the founders envisioned, not at all. And so what I hope to do in the next little while is to sort of tune in and share some of my perspectives on recovering a much older vision of American society. Because the Constitution's still there. It's got some barnacles on it that we need to chip away so that we can clean it up. And there's a lot of junk that's been added to the Constitution. And it is possible to remove some of that through a convention of the states. Now, you may laugh, but it is very possible. It would be so nice if the younger people in this country who are channeling their anger in what I think is not a healthy way, not a healthy direction, channel that into a real solution, which would be a convention of the states, which the Constitution allows for. And that way you could amend the Constitution in a very real way and help the country move forward in a direction that is capable of dealing with the trials of the 21st century. Because we don't have the same problems now that we did in the 20th century. And the young people in their 20s now, they don't have the same amount of income or economic stability that people even when I was coming up through my 20s did. Because I never worried about being able to buy a house or being able to get married and that sort of thing. I always had faith and an optimistic outlook that was going to happen. And it did, praise be to God. But we need to realize that a lot of people in Gen Z particularly don't have that. I mean, there's a lot of people in my millennial generation that were not able to have the things that we are able to enjoy in this household. And so there's some serious problems, and the government can do some things, but we need to be doing some things too. And that's making sure that we're living as virtuously as we can. I don't know how God is going to, I don't know why he would want to help somebody who's not seeking after virtue. we need to have some patience. I think we need to have some patience and work together across the generations, not simply one generation thinking that they're going to do it all on their own. No, you have to have a network of people to better the economy, better the government, and you can do that through amending the Constitution, which can and should be done, in my opinion, which would involve repealing some amendments that are hurting the economy. But anyway, I'm starting to ramble. I've got several books here that I was going to discuss regarding the founding generation and the American Revolution, but we'll do that at a later date. I hope that you can just realize not everybody who's older than 30 years old it fails to understand the economic plight of the next generation. It's nothing new, but what is new is the lack of workable solutions that are coming to the forefront of the discussion. So anyway, maybe we'll continue talking about this at a later date. This is Alan Harrelson with the Pipe Cottage. Thank you for stopping by.